We're going to go through cosine law today, which with sine law, that's what we did yesterday, we'll be able to essentially solve any triangle as long as enough information is provided. Now, depending if you've been with me before, usually I just focus on this formula for sine law. This is a big formula to remember. Okay, these two are identical formulas, but what they've done is if you're solving for a side or an angle, you either make that the C, or so the beginning side, or the end angle. Normally what I tell people to do is memorize one formula and just rename a triangle. So if this is our triangle down here, okay, and this is A, B, C, this would be side C, this would be side A, this would be side B. Let's say they asked us to find side B, sorry. I would just tell you to rename the triangle. So keep the formula the same and call this C. It's not like Pythagorean where it's a hypotenuse. It's just the first term is what we're looking for, or the last term. Another way you could do it is if you name a triangle ABC, you can just rearrange the formula. Okay? So if you're looking for side B, well then you put the B on the outside and you have the A and C inside the formula, and you'd have to be referring to angle B. If you're looking for side A, you put B and C inside and angle A. It's completely up to you what method you guys want to do. You can memorize one formula and rename a triangle, or you can memorize 3 formulas, and that way you'll never have to rename the triangle. Cosine law will help us whenever we have a side, an angle, and a side. So if we have this information and an angle is contained between two sides, we use cosine law. It'll also help us if we have only the measurements of sides and none of the angles. Okay? Every other case, we'll be able to use sine law for. At any point, if I had one of these angles here, then I'd have a ratio. And technically, sine law is a little bit easier to use than cosine law. Okay? So these are the cases we would use it. Remember, to use sine law, you need that ratio. So let's look at this question here. Assuming that I prefer using sine law, I need a complete ratio, which means I need an opposite angle and an opposite side. Do I have that information in this example? I don't. But I do have an angle contained between two sides, which means I would use cosine law for this. Now, I'm going to rename this triangle. This is A, okay? And we need to find side A in this triangle. I'm going to call it, or actually no, I'm going to take the formula. That means our formula then becomes A on the outside squared. This is then angle A. We can call this B. It doesn't really matter the other two. And C. So if I'm looking for A goes on the outside. And then it's going to be equal to B squared plus C squared minus 2 times the B and the C. And then it's going to be cos of whatever angle or side, we're looking for. So angle A, which is 120. From here, we plug in the information. So if B, we have side B at 10.1. This refers to side B. This refers to side B. We need to replace those values with 10.1. Side C is 11.6. So this C and this C need to be replaced with 11.6. And angle A is 120. This is referring to angle A. We need to replace it with 120. Cosine law, once you have the formula, is just substitution, plugging numbers into our unknown variable. So we're looking for A squared is equal to, what is B? 10.1, it'll have to be squared, plus what is C? 11.6 squared. Minus 2 times, what was B again? Good. Times C, which is 11.6. And this is technically multiplied by cos 120. Good. Okay. So, from this step, we essentially are using a calculator. Here's our A. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind, many people make the mistake here is they solve this, and then they subtract this amount. But we can't do that according to BEDMAS because this is multiplication. So it's probably in your best interest to work at the back of the equation. That's okay. I want you to focus on solving this part first. Okay? Solve this part of the equation first, then do the front after. So we'll take out a calculator for that. Okay, so I'm going to type in cos 120. So 120, cos. Okay, so it's a negative number in this case. Remember, obtuse angles. Times 11.6. Okay. Times 10.1. And then technically this is times negative 2. Times 2, and it's negative. It's equal to 117.16. So, all of this combined into 117.6. Is that right? Oh, 16. There we go. So we've just solved the end part of this equation. Now we'll bring down the rest. A squared is equal to 10.12 plus 11.6 squared. And because this is positive, it's an addition. Okay? If it is negative, we would put a subtraction sign there. Well, that's unfortunate. So, now that we have this, according to bedmass, we have to work with our two exponents. So 10.1 squared is 102. What's supposed to be negative? So we got 10.1 squared is 102.01. 11.6 squared gives us 134.56. 4.56. And we bring down the 117.16. This just becomes simple addition. We add these values together. So this is the middle number plus 117 plus 102. Oh, nuts. Who wants to help me with what that number is? I keep putting it wrong in this calculator. 200? It should be 353.73. Thank you. Finally, the last step, because it's an exponent on this side, we need to square root that value. What is our A value in this case? 18.8?